The air tastes of oil and cold metal. It's March 1944, and the concrete apron at RAF Wickenby in Lincolnshire stretches black and wet under a sky stripped of stars. Somewhere beyond the clouds, a bomber's moon waits, bright enough to guide them to the target, bright enough to kill them on the way back. Flight Lieutenant James "Jimmy" Cartwright stands beneath the nose of W. William, a Lancaster Mk3 heavy bomber, and stares up at the 4 Rolls-Royce Merlin engines gleaming dully in the darkness. 22 missions. He survived 22 missions over Germany, and tonight will be number 23. Just 7 more after this, and his tour is done. 7 more nights of fire and flak and fear. Behind him, the rest of the crew assembles in silence. There's Navigator Officer Peter Davies, barely 21, clutching his charts like sacred texts. Wireless operator Ted Morrison, who still writes letters to a girl back in Manchester every single night. Bomb-ammer Charlie Briggs, who never jokes anymore, not since Cologne. Flight engineer Roy Hendricks, the only man aboard who truly understands every rivet and wire of this 70,000-pound machine. And the gunners, rear gunner Tiny Watson, 6'4" and folded into the loneliest position in the sky, and mid-upper gunner Frank Hayes, who keeps a photo of his son tucked into his flight suit. 7 men. 1 aircraft. 1 mission. Target's Nuremberg, Cartwright says quietly, his breath fogging in the frigid air. Deep penetration. Long flight. Heavy opposition expected. No one responds. They've heard it all before. The ground crew finishes their checks, and the crew chief, a grizzled sergeant with oil under his fingernails, approaches Cartwright with a clipboard. "She's all yours, sir. Engines are sweet. Full fuel load. 4,000-pound cookie and incendiaries in the bomb bay." Cartwright nods. The cookie, a massive high-capacity blast bomb, will crack open buildings so the incendiaries can start the firestorms. It's the RAF's formula for destruction, refined over 3 years of night bombing. He doesn't think about what's beneath those targets anymore. He can't. "Let's mount up," he says. They climb through the hatch one by one, the Lancaster's interior smelling of rubber, hydraulic fluid, and fierce sweat soaked into every surface. Cartwright settles into the pilot's seat on the left side of the cockpit, Hendricks beside him at the flight engineer's panel. The instrument panel glows faintly. Altimeter, airspeed indicator, artificial horizon, boost gauges, fuel gauges, temperatures. A constellation of dials that will either guide them home or watch them die. Davies squeezes into the navigator's compartment behind the cockpit, already plotting their course on the chart table. Briggs lies prone in the nose, the bomb sight waiting in front of him like an altar. Morrison hunches over his radio set, headphones clamped tight. And in the rear, Tiny Watson climbs backward into his turret, sealing himself into a perspex bubble where the temperature will drop to 40 below zero, where he'll spend 6 hours scanning the darkness for the Messerschmitt and Focke-Wulf night fighters that prowl the bomber stream like sharks. Cartwright flips switches, watching the gauges come alive. Starting engines. Number 3. Hendricks primes the engine. The starter motor whines, the propeller blades turn once, twice, then the Merlin catches with a thunderous bark that shakes the airframe. One by one, the other 3 engines roar to life, their combined power drowning out thought, drowning out doubt. Around them, across the airfield, other Lancasters are waking. Halifax's too. More than 400 heavy bombers will take off tonight, climbing into the darkness in a steel river that will stretch for hundreds of miles across enemy territory. Ground to W. William, you're cleared to taxi. Cartwright releases the brakes. The Lancaster lurches forward, the tail wheel swiveling as he steers toward the runway. The weight is immense, 30 tons of aircraft, fuel, bombs, and men. The runway lights stretch ahead like a path to another world. "All set back there?" he calls over the intercom. One by one, the crew checks in. 7 voices. 7 lives in his hands. They reach the threshold. Cartwright pushes the throttles forward, feeling the Merlin surge, feeling the Lancaster strain against its own mass. The runway rushes beneath them. Faster, faster, the tail comes up, the earth releases its grip. And they're airborne. The ground falls away. England disappears into darkness below. Ahead, the North Sea waits, and beyond it, the Ruhr Valley, the Rhine, and 400 miles of German night fighters, radar-guided flak, and searchlights that can blind a man at 20,000 feet. Cartwright banks gently, joining the bomber stream. Somewhere ahead, Nuremberg burns in their future. Behind them, the runway lights wink out one by one. And the night closes in like a fist. The North Sea is a black void beneath them, invisible except where moonlight catches the waves in silver fragments. Cartwright holds the Lancaster steady at 12,000 feet, climbing slowly, the four Merlins hammering in perfect synchronization. The sound is deafening even through the leather flight helmet, a constant roar that vibrates through bone and blood. Navigator to pilot. On course. ETA enemy coast 17 minutes. Roger, Cartwright replies, his voice flat and calm in the way that only comes from repetition. From seeing men die and still having to fly straight and level. Beside him, Hendricks scans the gauges with mechanical precision. Fuel flow, oil pressure, coolant temperatures, boost settings. The Lancaster is a symphony of systems, and any one of them can fail. Any one failure can send them spiraling into the sea or exploding in mid-air. He checks the fuel transfer valves, ensuring the tanks drain evenly. Weight and balance. Always weight and balance. In the rear turret, tiny Watson rotates slowly, scanning the darkness through the gun sight. The 4.303 Browning machine guns point uselessly at nothing. His breath freezes on the inside of the perspex, and he scrapes it away with a gloved hand, knowing it will ice over again in minutes. The electrically heated suit barely works. His feet are already numb. 6 hours of this. 6 hours of isolation, cold, and waiting for the fighter that will come from behind, guns blazing, cannons punching holes through aluminum like tissue paper. He's seen it happen. He's watched Lancasters explode beside him, their fuel tanks igniting in orange fireballs that consume 7 men in seconds. He's heard the screams over the intercom, cut short by static or silence. He keeps scanning. Bomb aimer to crew. Enemy coast ahead. I can see searchlights. Charlie Briggs lies in the nose, his face pressed against the perspex, watching the Dutch coastline emerge from the darkness. The searchlights are already probing the sky, long blue fingers that sweep back and forth, hunting for the bomber stream. When they find you, they cone you, stacking multiple lights on your aircraft, blinding the pilot, holding you frozen in the glare while the flak batteries zero in. Cartwright sees them too. His jaw tightens. Engineer, give me maximum continuous climb. Let's get above this. Hendricks adjusts the throttles, pushing the engines harder. The Lancaster claws for altitude, rising through 15,000 feet, 16,000, 17. The air grows thinner. The cabin is unpressurized, and every man aboard breathes through an oxygen mask now, the rubber pressing against their faces, the metallic taste of compressed oxygen filling their lungs. Wireless operator to crew. Master Bomber is broadcasting on VHF. Weather's deteriorating over target. High winds. Some scattered returns already. Scattered returns means aircraft turning back, mechanical failures, wounded crew, or simple terror overcoming duty. No one blames them. Not really. Cartwright keeps flying. They cross the coast, and the searchlights sweep closer. One beam passes 100 yards to starboard, illuminating another Lancaster in stark relief for just a moment, a black cross against white light, before it disappears back into darkness. Cartwright banks gently away from the lights, weaving through the gaps, trusting Davies' navigation to keep them in the stream. The bomber stream is their only protection. 400 aircraft, flying close together, saturating the German defenses, making it impossible for the night fighters to engage them all. It's a calculated sacrifice, Some will die so others can reach the target. Flak ahead, Tiny calls from the rear. Heavy concentrations. The sky ahead erupts. Anti-aircraft shells explode in clusters, orange and white and red, blossoming like deadly flowers at 19,000 feet. The flak batteries fire predicted barrages, timing the fuses to detonate in boxes of airspace where the bombers must fly. Shrapnel sprays outward from each burst, jagged fragments of steel traveling at thousands of feet per second. Cartwright flies straight through it. There's no choice. Evasive maneuvers waste fuel and break the stream. You trust your luck, you trust the armor plating behind your seat, and you fly. A shell explodes 200 feet above them. The Lancaster bucks violently. Shrapnel pings against the fuselage, sharp metallic impacts like hail on a tin roof. A piece punches through the port wing, leaving a jagged hole big enough to see stars through. Damage report, Cartwright snaps. Hendricks checks the gauges. Port outer engine showing temperature fluctuation. Fuel pressure steady. No fires. Keep an eye on it. They fly deeper into Germany. The landscape below is dark except for occasional pinpricks of light, blacked-out cities, factories running night shifts, trains moving supplies to the Eastern Front. The moon illuminates rivers and forests in shades of silver and black. It would be beautiful if it wasn't trying to kill them. Navigator to pilot. Turn starboard to heading 095. 23 minutes to initial point. The initial point, the IP, is where they'll begin their bombing run. From there, it's a straight line to the target, no matter what happens. No evasion. No turning away. The bomb aimer takes control, and the pilot becomes a slave to his directions. Cartwright makes the turn. Wireless to crew. Fighter flares going up ahead. Looks like a scarecrow. Scarecrows are what some crews call the exploding Lancasters, bright orange bursts that light up the sky. The Luftwaffe claims they're fake flares designed to frighten bomber crews, but everyone knows the truth. Those are aircraft dying. Those are men burning. Contact. Fighter, port quarter, 500 yards. Frank Hayes in the mid-upper turret spins his guns toward the threat. A shadow moves against the darkness, a Messerschmitt Bf-110 night fighter, its nose packed with cannons and machine guns, closing fast. "Hold fire," Cartwright orders, his voice ice-cold. "Let him get closer." The fighter approaches. 400 yards. 300. Fire. Hayes opens up with his twin .303s, the tracers arcing out into the night, every fifth round burning bright so he can see his aim. The fighter banks hard, breaking off the attack, disappearing back into darkness before Tiny can bring his guns to bear. "He's gone," Hayes reports, breathing hard. But they all know he's not gone. He's repositioning. He's coming back. Cartwright pushes the throttles forward, coaxing more speed from the straining Merlins. The Lancaster accelerates to 210 miles per hour, the airframe creaking, the wings flexing. They're close now. Close to the target. Close to the moment where they'll either succeed or die. Navigator to pilot. Initial point in 7 minutes. 7 minutes until they're committed. 7 minutes until there's no turning back. The sky over Nuremberg is burning. From 40 miles away, Cartwright can see the glow on the horizon, a pulsing orange dome that stains the clouds and reflects off the rivers below. The Pathfinders have already marked the target with their colored flares, red and green cascades hanging in the sky like Christmas decorations over hell. The first wave of bombers has dropped their loads, and the firestorm is building. Bomb aimer to pilot. I have the markers. Coming up on IP now. Cartwright's hands tighten on the control yoke. This is the moment. The moment when they stop being pilots and become targets. Roger. Bomb aimer has control. Charlie Briggs takes over, his right hand on the bombing computer, his left eye pressed to the Mark 14 bomb sight. Through the Perspex nose cone, He can see the city sprawling beneath them, a geometric grid of streets and buildings painted in fire. The cathedral spire stands out like a knife blade. The factories along the river are already engulfed. Left, left, steady, steady. Cartwright obeys, making tiny corrections with the rudder, holding the Lancaster straight and level at 19,000 feet while the flak bursts around them in black and orange clusters. A shell explodes 50 feet below the starboard wing, and the concussion slams the bomber sideways. Metal screams. Something rattles loose in the fuselage. Steady, steady, bomb doors open. Hendricks throws the lever. The bomb bay doors crack open with a hydraulic whine, and the freezing wind rushes in, howling through the interior, grabbing at anything loose. The Lancaster slows immediately, the drag coefficient destroying their speed. And that's when the night fighter returns. Contact. Ju-88, 6 o'clock high. Tiny Watson sees it first, a twin-engine shadow diving from above, its cannons already flickering with muzzle flashes. He swings his guns up, but he's too slow, the fighter's too fast, and the world explodes. 20mm cannon shells punch through the Lancaster's port wing in a diagonal line, each impact like a hammer blow, each explosion ripping away aluminum skin and spars and hydraulic lines. The port inner engine takes a direct hit. The Merlin disintegrates in a spray of oil and metal fragments, the propeller blades snapping off and whirling away into the darkness. Fire erupts from the engine nacelle, bright yellow flames streaming back along the wing. Port inner's gone. Hendricks shouts. Fire in the wing. Extinguisher. Cartwright yells back, fighting the controls as the Lancaster lurches hard to port, trying to roll over, trying to spiral into the firestorm below. Hendricks slams the fire extinguisher button. Nothing happens. The fire keeps burning, eating through the wing structure, melting aluminum, consuming everything. Extinguisher failure. Fires spreading. More cannon shells rake the fuselage. One punches through the wireless compartment, missing Ted Morrison's head by inches, destroying the radio in a shower of sparks and glass. Another hits the starboard side, killing the oxygen supply to the rear turret. Tiny Watson gasps as his mask goes dead, his lungs screaming for air that isn't there. "Oxygen out in rear turret," he shouts, his voice already slurring from hypoxia. "Can't breathe." "Get forward," Cartwright orders. "Now." But Charlie Briggs is still lying in the nose, still gripping the bomb sight, still calling corrections. Because if they don't drop the bombs, 22 other men died for nothing. If they don't drop the bombs, this whole nightmare mission is wasted. Steady, steady. The fire spreads along the port wing. The heat is visible now, a shimmering distortion in the air, the flames bright enough to illuminate the entire aircraft. Cartwright can feel the heat through the cockpit wall. He can smell burning paint and rubber and wiring insulation. The Ju-88 comes around for another pass. Frank Hayes in the mid-upper turret tracks it, firing long bursts, the tracers arcing across the night sky. Some rounds connect, sparks flash along the fighter's fuselage, but not enough. Not enough to stop it. He's coming in again. Bombs away. Charlie screams. The Lancaster leaps upward as 4 tons of explosives drop free, the bomb doors still open, the 4,000-pound cookie falling nose first into the inferno below, followed by hundreds of incendiaries tumbling like silver rain. Cartwright doesn't wait to see the impact. He slams the control yoke forward and to the right, diving away from the fighter's guns, banking hard with full right rudder, putting the burning wing on top so the flames blow back instead of spreading forward. The Ju-88 overshoots, unable to follow the violent maneuver. Bomb doors closed. Get us out of here. Cartwright pulls out of the dive at 16,000 feet, leveling off, still fighting the controls because the Lancaster wants to roll left, wants to spiral, wants to die. The port wing is half gone, not literally severed, but structurally compromised, the fire consuming the internal spars and ribs, the outer section starting to droop and twist. Engineer status. Hendricks stares at the gauges in disbelief. Port inner gone. Port outer barely running. Throttle response is minimal. Starboard engines at maximum power. We're losing hydraulic pressure. Fire's still burning. I can't put it out. How long until the wing fails? I don't know. Could be minutes, could be. The port outer engine seizes. The propeller blades lock up, creating massive drag. The Lancaster yaws violently to the left. Cartwright pushes the right rudder pedal to the floor, his legs shaking with the strain, and advances the starboard throttles past maximum. Overboost screaming through the Merlins, RPMs climbing into the red. They're flying on 2 engines now. 2 engines and a burning wing. And they're still 300 miles from England. Navigator, give me a course home. Shortest route, ignore the defenses, just get us there. Davy's voice shakes. 275 degrees. But Jimmy, we can't make it. We're losing altitude. Fuel's pouring out of the port wing tanks. We have to bail out. No one's bailing out, Cartwright says flatly. We're going home. He's already doing the math. They're at 15,000 feet, descending at 200 feet per minute. They have fuel for maybe 90 minutes if they're lucky. The engines will hold together or they won't. The wing will stay attached or it won't. But he's not leaving his crew to die in German POW camps or lynch mobs. He's bringing them home.